back to Flow of Wisdom Radio. I am your host, Sean Anthony. We're live on the Genesis Communications Network. Of course, we do the show live every Sunday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The toll-free number to call in is 1-877-300-7645. My guest is photographer Wilbur Allen, and Will is also a UFO expert. And we've been talking just about, some of the work that he's done has been co-signed by Apollo astronauts. And when you get that kind of cosign, I think that would definitely add some validity to, any type of work that he may present to the public. Will, let's move forward, man. Talk about the activity. Has there been an increased activity lately? First, before you answer that, talk about, your whole setup on capturing these images. You do this every day? Nightly? Where do you set your camera?
I do it on a nightly basis, provided the weather allows me to. I try not to do it on a rainy day. My equipment's not waterproof, so that would not be logical. But what I do basically is it's like I like to describe what I'm doing like going fishing in a water hole. And we go out into an ice lake, and we've got this one hole that we constantly go to, and we go there every night or every day. And we go fishing, and we catch a fish or two. Well, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm setting my camera up every day, aimed 90 degrees straight up in a fixed position on my roof, which has left frame, north, right frame of the camera, south, and, corresponding positions according to the geographic directions of the particular perspective itself. But every night I'm capturing these objects in a fixed area, 90 degrees straight up from my roof, which is 7 blocks from the White House and 11 blocks from the U.S. Capitol building. And basically what I'm capturing, to me, appears to be objects which are either being discharged from a large cloaked mothership, which is one possibility, or objects which are entering into our realm using quantum teleportation technology, which was discovered in 1990 by the U.S. and Russian astronauts on board the Mir space station. And what they documented in 1990 on board the Mir space station on video and motion picture is exactly what I'm documenting now directly over my home. In fact, what I'm documenting is a bit more advanced in that the technology that I'm using to document these objects is allowing me to capture them at 60 frames per second. And that means for every second of action, I've got 60 photographs associated to it. In those 60 photographs, you see without a doubt that these objects are materializing into our airspace. And you see incrementally these objects become solid objects. And what's even more interesting and even more compelling to the documentation is the fact that when they do become solid, there's a sound associated to them as they fly through the frame. So we have sounds now associated to UFOs.
Well, what was your reaction when you noticed, that your work is what you just said, when you realized, like, whoa, this is the exact same thing that they captured? Which Apollo mission you said that was? Was that 7 or 11?
Apollo 7, Apollo 11 with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, the motion picture files that they captured clearly showed this object, which had the same luminous green qualities, which I call nuclear green, and it was also the qualities of liquid, which was really unusual about this object because as it moves, it looks like liquid flowing. So they did indeed document it in 1969. Following them to the lunar surface, which they also documented on Apollo 17, the same anomaly on the lunar surface. So we've got all of the documentation showing these objects that I photographed in 2002, clearly documented by NASA during the Apollo moon mission.
What was your initial reaction when you seen that?
I for the longest, initially when I made my presentation, I was working on my graduate degree at Howard. And it was not met very well. It wasn't indeed met well at all. And they dismissed the documentation and it essentially forced me to go elsewhere, which I was indeed fortunate enough to reach out to Edgar Mitchell and Buzz Aldrin during that time. And they did confirm the data. The problem was at Howard was there was no one there that was technically qualified, nor was anyone there that was even familiar with the anomalies that I presented. So they essentially dismissed it based on a lack of familiarity. But it's now 2015, and Howard University is now accepting that data and wants me to indeed come back and finish my master's and PhD program, which I initially started in 2002 based on this UFO data. So things have changed.
So Howard University came full circle. They're inviting you back. Are they going to pay your tuition?
More than likely, yes, because,
Nice.
After doing the work and having the work dismissed, you kind of sit back and you wonder, because you did all of this research and you presented it just as I'm presenting it now. The difference is when I presented this material to them, their perspective on extraterrestrial activity and their perspectives on UFOs were not necessarily in my favor, because most people who are intelligent and have advanced degrees do not want to believe that the anomalies that I'm photographing are real. And there are a lot of intelligent people who still to this day do not believe that UFOs and extraterrestrials exist.
Wow.
Because they're forced not to believe that. That's what they're stuck in this mold.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's go back to the original question. Because I was asking you, what's your setup? You said you set up your camera at a fixed position right outside your home every night, weather permitting, and you capture these images. Has the activity increased, and if so, when and how much has it increased?
It's funny when you start mentioning activity. It's the frequency of the activity you should be concerned about. And for essentially 479 days, which is about a year and a couple of months, a year and a few months, I've been getting the same object. Now, when you think about it, and most of the comments, I look on my YouTube page and I look at the comments that people give me, the LOL, and meteor, and shooting star. Now, wait a minute. Now, if it's a meteor or shooting star, then what was imaged the day before, and the day before that, and the day before that, and the day before that, all in the same airspace, all showing the same thing? It can't be a meteor or shooting star, because logically, there's no uniformity associated to a meteor or shooting star because they're random. But I'm getting something that shows consistently on a daily basis.
Wow. So let me ask you this.
It can't be a meteor,
Let me ask you this, Will, because are you out there physically shooting these, or is your camera set up on a timer? Like, how is that?
No, my cameras are operating like satellite technology, like stuff that NASA sends out in space. My camera is mounted, and it's sending the signal which it's recording wirelessly to my computer. So I monitor my activity on my laptop. I'm not sitting there doing anything. It's just a fishing pole sitting in a hole.
Okay, so let me ask you, so how do you comb through the hours of footage each day, picking out these different, objects, flying out in the skies at night?
Frame by frame, I look at each file that the camera records, and I go through it meticulously, and I find these objects. And, you don't have to do too much to find them, especially with the type of technology that I'm using, because it's a fixed position camera, and that means the image frame is fixed. And when these objects pop up, they appear as a distortion, an anomaly in those frames, and they are represented as an distortion or an anomaly in those frames as it passes through the camera's visual perspective. So, we look at this, and I look at all of this data, and then I look at the data that I capture, and I put everything together in a collective folder, so to speak, and I am able to conclude based on all of the collective data that, with all of the examples that I'm able to capture on a nightly basis, that there is indeed the possibility of either a cloaked mothership or an extraterrestrial base in our vicinity.
Okay. There's first of all, man, my hat's off to you. I mean, you must have been born to do this, because I don't know if I would have the patience to sit through frame by frame consistently as you do, going through these images.
That's a lot of data.
Yeah, that's a lot of data, man. You probably got tons of external hard drives at your home.
I
But
have tons of external hard drives, and my monitors are 56-inch. So I'm looking at big screen action. It's not like I'm sitting there on a small screen looking at things with a microscope. I see what's happening on a big screen, and what happens on a big screen is extraterrestrial activity on a nightly basis.
guys, for those that are listening, I want to really understand what we're talking about. You got to see the images. And I posted an article a couple of days ago. It says, "What in the high heavens is this?" And it's referring to some images that Wilbur Allen captured. In fact, we're going to really talk about this one in the second hour because we're running out of time, of this balloon-type object. But that link, when you go to that link, it takes you not only to the YouTube, it shows you the YouTube videos, but it'll take you to his channel, and you can just go through the images on his YouTube channel, and you'll see, you know, exactly what we're talking about. He's breaking it down.
All the same, yeah. Nightly, it's all the same.
Yeah, and it's amazing. You know, you got it all documented. It's dated. You know, and you're describing it, and even some of the videos that you have on your YouTube channel, you actually break it down and slow down the images so you can actually look at it. Real quick before we run out of time. You know, I wanted to talk to you about this HARP technology. You made a very bold claim. You said you know why they developed HARP in relation to these wormholes.
It is to find and assist the extraterrestrials in generating the wormholes in specific areas.
HARP technology, High Auroral Active Research Program.
Yes, indeed.
Wow. And how do you get this claim? Well, hold that thought. Wilbur, hold that thought. Answer that question when we come back from commercial break. Wilbur Allen, we're about to really get into some deep meat and potato stuff, guys, about HARP technology and in relation to these wormholes and so much more. 877-300-4645. We'll take your phone calls after this.